In 1932, a widowed carpenter stood alone in a tiny workshop in Denmark. His business was collapsing. The Great Depression had wiped out his customers, and he had 4 young sons depending on him. Most people would have closed the doors and looked for work elsewhere. Instead, Ole Kirk Christiansen picked up a piece of scrap wood. That decision would eventually create one of the most successful family empires in history. But the story of Lego isn't really about plastic bricks. It's about a family that survived tragedy, fires, financial ruin, and impossible decisions, and somehow kept building. Ole Kirk Christiansen was born in rural Denmark in 1891, where life was hard and opportunities were few. He trained as a carpenter and quickly earned a reputation for perfection. If a table wasn't level, he rebuilt it. If a cabinet wasn't flawless, he started again. Quality wasn't something he advertised. It was simply how he lived. After marrying Kirstine Sorensen, the couple settled in the small town of Billund and began raising their family. Ole built homes, crafted furniture, and slowly established a respected business. Then everything changed. The Great Depression swept across Europe. Families stopped buying furniture because they could barely afford food. Construction projects disappeared almost overnight. Just as work dried up, tragedy struck again. Kirstine died, leaving Ole to raise 4 boys on his own. His business was failing, his family was grieving, his future looked hopeless. With almost no orders coming in, Ole searched his workshop for anything he could sell. He began using leftover pieces of wood to carve small toys: cars, ducks, yo-yos, and animals. It wasn't a dream, it was survival. But Ole approached those tiny toys exactly as he had his expensive furniture. Every edge was sanded smooth. Every wheel turned perfectly. Every toy had to be something he could proudly hand to a child. Soon, local families began buying them. They weren't the cheapest toys available, but they were beautifully made, and word spread quickly. Around this time, Ole adopted a phrase that would define both his family and his company for generations. Only the best is good enough. It wasn't just a slogan. His sons heard those words every single day, especially one son, Gottfried. Quiet, observant, and endlessly curious, Gottfried spent countless hours beside his father, watching every decision he made. He learned that quality mattered more than speed, and reputation mattered more than profit. Without knowing it, Ole wasn't just making toys. He was shaping the man who would eventually transform the business forever. Then disaster arrived. A fire ripped through the workshop, destroying years of work. Neighbors assumed the family was finished. Instead of giving up, Ole rebuilt the workshop, larger and better than before. Years later, another fire destroyed almost the entire factory. Again, the Christiansens rebuilt. Every setback strengthened one lesson inside the family: you don't quit, you rebuild. As Europe slowly recovered after the Second World War, a strange new material began appearing in factories: plastic. Most craftsmen hated it. It looked cheap. It felt unnatural. Wood had always been the mark of quality, but Ole saw something different. He saw the future. In 1947, against the advice of almost everyone around him, he bought one of Denmark's first plastic injection molding machines. It was an enormous financial gamble. If it failed, the company could disappear. If it succeeded, it might change everything. Neither Ole nor his sons realized it at the time. But inside that machine, the world's most famous toy was waiting to be born. The first plastic toys the Christiansen family produced weren't remarkable. Sales were slow. Many customers still preferred wooden toys, and some retailers refused to stock plastic products altogether. To most people, the investment looked like a mistake. But Gottfried Christiansen had become fascinated by one simple question: what if a toy never had to end? In 1949, the company introduced a small plastic building block known as the automatic binding brick. The idea wasn't completely new. Other companies had experimented with similar blocks before. The problem was that they didn't work very well. Children could build something impressive, only for it to collapse moments later. Gottfried refused to accept that. For years, he obsessed over improving the design. Tiny adjustments were made again and again. Millimeters became critical: the height of the studs, the thickness of the walls, the spacing inside every brick. everything had to be perfect. Finally, in 1958, Lego patented the design that still exists today. The secret wasn't the studs on top, it was the small hollow tubes hidden underneath. Those tiny tubes created just enough grip for bricks to lock together firmly while still pulling apart easily. It was an engineering breakthrough disguised as a children's toy. But just weeks after securing the patent, tragedy struck once more. Ole Kirk Christiansen died. He never lived to see the empire his family would build. Leadership now passed to Godfred. He inherited far more than a factory. He inherited his father's values. Rather than selling individual toys, Godfred introduced something revolutionary. He called it the system of play. Every Lego set would work with every other Lego set, no matter when it was made, no matter where it was bought. Parents could add to a collection year after year instead of replacing it. Children could build anything they imagined. That single decision transformed Lego from a toy company into a creative system. Then fate intervened again. In 1960, another devastating fire destroyed the warehouse, containing nearly every wooden toy the company produced. For many businesses, this would have meant rebuilding exactly as before. Godfred made a different choice. He abandoned wooden toys forever. It was one of the boldest decisions in the company's history. Everything now depended on plastic bricks. Had he been wrong, the family empire would almost certainly have collapsed. Instead, demand exploded. Across Europe, children fell in love with Lego. Parents trusted its quality. Teachers praised its creativity. Sales grew year after year. Then came another ambitious dream. If children loved building miniature worlds, why not let them walk inside one? In 1968, Legoland Billund opened its gates. Hundreds of thousands of visitors arrived during the very first season. The small Danish family business had become something far bigger than anyone could have imagined. But while the world believed Lego had become untouchable, the greatest threat the Christiansen family would ever face was still ahead. By the 1990s, the Christiansen family had achieved something few businesses ever manage. Lego wasn't just successful, it had become part of childhood itself. Millions of children grew up building castles, pirate ships, and space stations, while parents trusted the little Danish company more than almost any other toy brand. From the outside, everything looked perfect. Behind closed doors, it wasn't. The world was changing. Video games were replacing traditional toys. Computers were entering family homes. Children had more entertainment choices than ever before. Lego feared it was being left behind. Instead of focusing on the brick that had built the company, the business began expanding in every direction. New products, new businesses, clothing, television, theme parks, video games. The problem was that the company had forgotten the lesson Ole Kirk Christiansen had taught from the very beginning. Keep it simple, make it the best. By 2003, the numbers were frightening. Lego was losing hundreds of millions of dollars. Costs had exploded. Warehouses were overflowing with products that customers didn't want. For the first time in its history, experts openly questioned whether Lego could survive. Some even believed the company would have to be sold. For the Christiansen family, it was almost unthinkable. 3 generations had spent their lives building the business. Now they risked losing it completely. But just as Ole had rebuilt after fire, and Godfred had rebuilt after impossible decisions, the next generation chose courage over pride. In 2004, they appointed Jørgen Vig Knudstorp as Chief Executive Officer. It was a historic moment. For the first time, someone outside the Christiansen family would run Lego. Many family businesses refused to hand over control. The Christiansens did the opposite. They cared more about saving the company than protecting tradition. It proved to be one of the greatest decisions they ever made. Knudstorp looked past the complicated business plans and asked one simple question. What made Lego special? The answer was obvious. The brick. Everything else was stripped away. Hundreds of products disappeared. Costs were cut. The company focused once again on quality, creativity, and imagination. Then Lego embraced something it had once been cautious about. Partnerships. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Batman, Marvel, Disney. Instead of replacing the Lego brick, These worlds gave children even more reasons to build. The gamble worked, sales climbed, families returned. A whole new generation discovered Lego. Then, in 2014, something extraordinary happened. Hollywood released the Lego Movie. Many critics expected it to fail. How could a film about plastic bricks possibly entertain audiences? Instead, it became a worldwide hit. It reminded adults why they had loved Lego as children, and introduced millions of new builders to the brand. Today, Lego is the largest toy company in the world. Its bricks are sold in well over 100 countries. Billions are produced every single year. Yet, despite becoming a global empire, one thing has never changed. The Christiansen family still owns the company through their investment group. They continue to think in decades rather than quarterly profits, exactly as Ole once did inside his little workshop in Billund. Perhaps that's the real secret behind Lego. Not the plastic, not the patents, not even the brick itself. It's the values passed from one generation to the next. A father teaching his son that quality matters. A family refusing to surrender after disaster. A belief that the next setback is simply another chance to build something even better. Because without Ole Kirk Christiansen, there would have been no Lego. Without Gottfried, there would have been no brick. And without each generation protecting what came before them, there would be no empire. It all began with a struggling carpenter trying to feed his family. Nearly a century later, his name lives on in millions of homes around the world. Every time a child snaps two Lego bricks together, they're continuing a story that started in a tiny Danish workshop with one simple promise: only the best is good enough. It's remarkable to think that almost every child on Earth knows the name Lego, yet very few know the family who made it possible. The colourful bricks may have become icons of childhood, but behind every one of them is a story of resilience. A widowed carpenter who refused to give up. A son who saw possibilities where others saw risk. And generation after generation of a family determined to protect an idea instead of chasing easy success. Today, children use Lego to build castles, spaceships, cities, and dreams of their own. They don't see the fires that destroyed factories, the financial crises that nearly ended the company, or the countless nights spent wondering if the business would survive another year. But perhaps that's exactly what makes the Christiansen family's legacy so extraordinary. The greatest things we build are rarely created in perfect moments. They're built through setbacks, sacrifice, and the courage to keep going when everyone else believes it's over. And maybe that's the true lesson hidden inside every Lego brick. Not that you can build anything, but that no matter how many times life knocks your creation apart, you can always start building again. This has been Old Money Media. Don't forget to subscribe and write in the comments. Let us know what you think and what you would like us to cover next. Until next time, thank you for watching.